Aha, there we are. Okay, so if you have got a mobile phone to hand or a laptop, please go to that web address at the top and answer there's 3 questions here, and then I'll give a really short presentation, because rather than having an empty gap, because the other presenter sadly is not very well today, I was parachuted in at the last minute to talk a little bit about Poll Everywhere, which is one of the tools that's gaining a lot of traction here at Lincoln in the last year and a half or so. Yes, this is good. Mostly over here. I'm probably somewhere here. I'm quite tired now. Between teaching and presentations and workshops and everything else that I've been doing. And I'm performing in the theatre tonight as well, so heading straight to the theatre after this. They are, yes. If you want to come and see Evita, come along tonight to the Theatre Royal in Lincoln, or for the rest of this week as well. Okay. Next question. I'm in Evita, yes. I play about 5 different characters, Chris. Including Ava's brother. Yes. I was thinking of putting the reasonably priced Star VR on here, but the thing is I crashed into a wall when I did it. I thought better of it. Good. This is good. And a final question. 1-word answers, please, if possible, or 1 or 2 words. It will split them into individual words. So, if you put a full sentence, then it will split the I's and the A's and the thes into separate words. Pain. Wow. Counteracted that with joy as well. Probably the 2 feelings of how a learning technologist would feel in their job. Buzzwords, this is good. And you can imagine, I mean, this looks quite good with just a few people in the room, but if we had, say, a lecture theatre this size full of students and they were doing this, you get some really nice responses. And like with any word cloud, effectively the words that are chosen the most are the ones that go larger in the word cloud than the ones that are smaller. And you see, you've got to round the spaces in the individual words by putting in a... Come on. You do. I will come on to that. I will come on to the issues of moderating on Poll Everywhere. Okay. I'll stop you there. Friendly neighbourhood. Did somebody put friendly neighbourhood dead? Thank you. That's Siobhan, not me. Okay. So I'll whiz through this. Not all of this will be relevant, as I didn't plan to deliver this today, but it should give you an introduction to Poll Everywhere. So, Poll Everywhere is a live audience response tool, and what it allows you to do is create polls which then can be shared with students either in a seminar or a lecture environment, and you see the results live on the screen, right? So students can respond using any kind of device as long as it's got a connection to the internet. That's the uniqueness of this. Prior to having Poll Everywhere, we had a tool called Turning Point here and various other locally designed tools as well in the university. The big one, as I say, was Turning Point. The problem with that is that it has a clicker, so you're limited to the number of people you can use that with, because you have to have a clicker for everybody that you want to get involved in the session. With this tool, you don't need that. You just use your mobile phone or an iPad or a laptop, anything like that. And there are a wide variety of question types, and they are always changing all the time. So they're a just-in-time company. They update things all the time. You go on there one day, and the next week there's a different question. They've removed your favourite question because nobody else in the world likes it, and they've added something else in place. But it's good. It's good like that. And they're kind of, I don't like it very much, but it's their slogan, their sales pitches that Poll Everywhere transforms one-sided presentations into two-way conversations with the audience. And it is the leading audience response system used in HE. So we've done the icebreaker already, and we'll skip through this. So currently we can create counts for you on Poll Everywhere if you want to use it. you get added to a license that we have as a university. This is not a single sign-on tool. So some of the other tools you might have discovered today, Panopto and Turnitin and other ones, Blackboard, you log into all of those platforms with your University of Lincoln staff details. You can't do that currently with Poll Everywhere. You have to request an account from our team. We'll create that account for you, and then you can log in. And if you've already got an account, or you've got an account from somewhere else where you've been before, we can upgrade your account to our license, and you won't lose any of your questions as well. The key thing is students, they don't need accounts to use Poll Everywhere. They can use them in lots of different ways. Like I said, they either go into their browser and they just go to this address, pollev.com/your username. Now that would be the username that Poll Everywhere gives you. You can change it to something else if you want to. But it's the username that Poll Everywhere gives you. If you stop by our digital education stand out in the foyer, we've got these A4 laminated sheets which tell the students exactly how they use Poll Everywhere. And the idea is that if you do use this quite a lot in your teaching space, go there and take one of those sheets and stick it on the wall in your lecture room or your seminar room, because that will really help us. It means students can look at it and they know exactly how to use the tool. And with the ones that are left over, we'll go around and put them in the key spaces around campus. So students just need a device that gets on the web. They go to that web address and then they can answer the question. You make the question live as and when you want to, right? The other option is they can have participant accounts. Now this is really, really good. Recently, about a month ago, we ran a really big formative quiz with nursing, where we had, I think, about 7 or 8 different groups of students, 10 or 15 students per group, all doing this 25-question quiz on Poll Everywhere. Now they had participant accounts. The reason being that although it was formative, they wanted, as academics, to be able to see which questions the students had got wrong or right, to therefore improve the sessions they were going to, or inform the sessions, sorry, that they were going to deliver through the rest of the course. So it's good for tracking. You get a grade centre sort of book. You get the students down the left-hand side and ticks across each column for each question. But obviously that only really works with multiple choice questions. So it's really good if you're doing an MCQ or something like that, formative. We would never advise it for summative, obviously, but for formative it's really, really good. But you're limited to just the multiple choice question types. And again, if you want these participant accounts for your students, then request them from us, send us a list of the students and we can set them up with accounts. So here are some of the question types you can use on Poll Everywhere. As you can see, there are lots of them. In effect, you get everything from multiple choice questions, which is just your A, B, C, D answers, through to open-ended text comments, which colleague over here was talking about earlier on. Those ones are a little bit dangerous at times, because obviously with an open-ended question, you don't have an option to know what the student's going to put in. They can put whatever they want in. So, using that in a big lecture theatre like this with a lot of students would maybe be a little bit dangerous, but they work really well in small groups, in seminars and stuff. And more recently, they also added in competitions to Poll Everywhere. Now, these are very much like Kahoot, if you've used that before. I think it's better than Kahoot because it doesn't have the silly music that Kahoot has. So it has all the features of Kahoot without music, and students can answer a series of multiple choice questions, and they get points for being correct, and they get more points for being faster than everybody else in the room. So they're challenged to get the answer right and to beat all of their contemporaries in the room. And when you've got a lot of students in a big lecture, that is really, really useful, and the students love it. They get engaged with it, And during welcome talks that I give in the College of Arts where I work, I do a kind of boring Blackboard introduction to how the university works, and then I do a quiz at the end, and the students have to try and get all the answers right, and they love that part of it. So some examples of how Poll Everywhere has been used as an icebreaker. When students come in to the lecture or the seminar, there's a question on the board and they answer it, and that gets them into the frame of mind for working. As I said, in MCQ, we've done that on a number of occasions with our health and social care students. Evaluation, at the end of a session, you ask students what they've learnt or whatever, and ask a series of questions to check their knowledge. And future planning, I particularly like this one. We've had this before where basically the question is never shown on the screen, but the academic makes the question visible at the end of the lecture and says to the students, as you leave, for the next 20 minutes, I'll leave this question up, and as you're walking back to your student digs, answer the question, and that will inform what we talk about in the seminar later in the week. So it's never used live in the session, but it's open for half an hour afterwards, and I think that's quite a nice idea. So I'll quickly tell you what a competition is on Poll Everywhere. So Poll Everywhere competition, anyone can create trivia contests. And like I say, you answer them, and there's a leaderboard after every single question. So it's quite good. It can get quite competitive, really. And it does work like Kahoot and other tools, and it's very easy to set up. You just need your questions, and you need to tick which answers are correct, and that's about it really. In terms of Poll Everywhere, there's lots of support for this tool on Blackboard. You can go onto Blackboard to the Help and Support tab within Blackboard, and in there are support documents on Poll Everywhere, Turnitin, Blackboard, everything that we support as a university. Looks a little bit like this. And there's another example of videos and help sheets on there as well. So I'm going to very, very quickly, because I know we're short on time and Jamie is due to present after me, show you very quickly how this works. So I'm inside my Poll Everywhere account here, and in effect I have a series of questions. The first section is a section of ungrouped questions. These ungrouped questions here are ones that I haven't assigned to a module or to a topic or anything like that. And below that I have my set questions, including the ones for today's conference, right? So I've grouped these into a section. If I want to make a new poll question, I hit create. I drop into this page where I have the options for different question types, and you can see there are lots of different ones. Some of these are quite similar to each other, so for example, open-ended question and answer, they're kind of similar. With question and answer, you can sort of limit the answers to a set question. With this one, it's just open-ended. And then you get things like upvote and leaderboard, which again are kind of similar, but upvote lets you move answers up and down, and leaderboard just shows the top answers, that kind of thing. One of my favourites is this one, clickable image. You get a series of options, so the smiley faces that we used earlier on in this session, or also anatomy images and things like that. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but the example I would give is something like having the human body and saying to a student, whereabouts is the heart? And you can actually select a square within the image, and if they tick inside the image, if they click inside the square that you've selected, they get a thumbs up, that's correct, and if they click anywhere else, they get a no. So it automatically gives them the answer for you, which saves you a job as well. But you can add any images you want in here, so it could be anything specific to your discipline. You can add images in and select an area on them. And you get things like the word cloud, which are quite nice, and the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice you also can do things like a survey. That's not live, it's not necessarily the greatest. There are other tools here at the university like Microsoft Forms that are better at doing surveys. But if you wanted to, you could send out a survey to students using Poll Everywhere and they would just respond. It's always open, and each time a student responds, it's recorded as a separate response. There's no time limit on that. You don't make it active or inactive effectively. So you choose your question type, you put your question in. So, and then you put your answers in. Oops. And you can add as many answers or as few answers as you need. And you can select one of them being correct if you want to. You don't have to, because it might be a question that you're just asking for opinions on, or it might be a question with a correct answer, right? And then effectively you just go to create, and it's going to make the question for you. It's going to take you into this screen where you can present it straight away if you want to, or you can change some of the settings on the far side. You can turn off text messaging, because really we don't recommend that. Web access is the best way to respond. You can also restrict it down here, whether you want to make it just visible to your participants. So if you set up those student accounts, you can do that if you want to. And you can change how many times they can respond. So they can respond just the one time, or as many times as they like. They can also allow answers to be changed or not allow. Now, if you choose not allow when they answer the first time, that's it. They can't change their answer, so I would recommend that, particularly if you're doing it in an academic sense, because you want to know what the students think first off. One of the problems we do have with Poll Everywhere, that some of you may have experienced, is that students sometimes wait. They sometimes wait until their friends have answered, and then they pick the answer that all the other people in the lecture have chosen, and that doesn't always mean it's the right answer, but they do often do that. So if you do this thing where you don't let them change their answer, they can't actually, well, they can still do that, they can still wait, but what they can't do is change their answer based on the fact they think they got it wrong. Because we have seen it before where they've gone for a certain answer and actually what they would have chosen first off has been the correct answer. And you can send a little reply message as well if you want to, when they've said their answer. Well done, you're great, sort of thing. And then effectively it's just as simple as basically going up here and clicking activate. And if I do that, any of you that are still on the web will see this question that I've just made, and you can respond to it. You don't have to, but effectively that activate button makes it visible or not, and the show correct button down here shows or doesn't show the correct answer. You can also lock it, so if you wanted to, you could take a moment in between, lock it, talk about it, reopen it again for more answers, and of course you can clear all your responses as well. And while doing all of that stuff, I would do it in full screen, right? Because then you're hiding away from the other menu. Here we go, yeah. So I'll deactivate it, which means it's now disappeared from your screens, and I will show the responses, and I will go up here, show correct. Yeah, there we go. That's the right answer. So that is effectively poll everywhere in a nutshell. It was only going to be a very, very brief introduction to it. It seems to have, we've had it for about 2 years now, but in the last 6 to 8 months it's really taken off. Lots of people are using it around the university now. So if you do want to use it, then get in touch with me or the team. We can create an account for you, and it'd be great to get some more case studies on how you're potentially using it as well.
Thank you, Ben,
All right.
particularly for stepping out for the last few minutes.